5:30. Call to order the meeting of the Board of Public Works for Monday, October 16th. And looking for an approval of the minutes of the October 16th, 2023 Board of Public Works meeting.
Motion to
by
approve.
Workman,
Second.
second by Giles.
Okay. All in favor?
All in favor?
Russ? In favor of the?
Aye.
Okay. Mike?
Aye.
Okay, item number 3, citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens that would like to speak? Citizens' comments going twice. Citizens' comments going a third time. I see no one, so we'll move on to number 4, construction updates presented by Tim Rasmussen, Street Superintendent, and Josh Moritz, City Engineer.
A couple of key takeaways here of the road construction projects that the street division is responsible for over the last couple of weeks. This week, we will finish up the last driveway approaches on St. Joe's to meet ADA compliance. We will then begin to clean up and prep the east half of the road to prepare for the paving, which is scheduled for early next week. There is plenty of work to be done on the Arnold intersection. So after the paving next week, the Arnold intersection and St. Joe's will be temporarily closed to complete the work as quickly as possible. Earlier this morning, Wood County started the removal of the old culverts on 8th and Hawthorne. Their plan is to get the entire ditch prepped for culverts installation today, with county materials delivering the new culverts beginning tomorrow. Edison's binder layer is down, and the driveway ends will be paved later this week or next week. We were able to dirt and seed that section, and the shouldering will be completed once the final asphalt surface is on. Becker from Maple to Daggy will be pulverized tomorrow, with the shaping scheduled for later this week. And again, we were also able to get the dirt and seed on that section, and we will put the shoulder down once the surface is done. While the paving is happening on Edison and Becker Mill and Place projects, we plan to remove the asphalt on the southbound lane of Becker and Peach to help with the ride through that intersection. We're currently completing various other sanitary repair requests from wastewater, along with storm sewer manhole and catch basin repairs around town. Also, our mill and fill crew is out conducting some pothole repairs to help ease the pressure on the routine call-ins of various potholes around town on our asphalt streets. This process will continue through the winter as the weather cooperates. Since our last meeting, we set up traffic control for the Marshfield High School's homecoming parade, and we will be setting up the traffic control for Main Street Marshfield's downtown trick-or-treating later next week. We also began the process of testing and repairing the downtown Christmas decorations so we can be ready to get those up right after Veterans Day. That ends my construction update. If anyone else has questions.
All right, thank you, Tim. Josh, if you want to get into yours.
Yeah, I was going to mention the 8th and Hawthorne culverts, but Tim beat me to it, so I'll skip to my next one, the 5th Street or Lincoln Avenue. Russ, did you have a question?
Did you have a question, Russ? You have your hand raised?
I do, yeah. I just wanted to say thanks for the update. I was curious about potholes being filled.
Yep.
So Tim, I'm glad to hear that partial crew on that. And the entire department, another hats off for the culvert project. As I recall, the numbers were $500,000, cost to the city $10,000. So that's pretty well done.
Just a correction, the culvert project is $110,000. It's a 50-50 split with Wood County, and we are paying half of that.
Okay, thanks for the correction.
All right, so I was going to talk about the Lincoln Avenue 5th to Adler project. They are this week finishing up storm sewer and more grading and placing sub-base and base. Tree Weller should be in by the end of the week to trim the base prior to paving Just seeing the site, that might get pushed back a week. Pretty wet. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Go ahead.
I have one other project, the airport project, where we're doing milling of the joints and filling and paving. This project started last week on runway 16234, and the work on 1634 is completed. This is the project that was $560,000, where we only have to pay $10,000 for. And they are working on the other runway and taxiways starting this week, and things are moving along pretty good. We did have a meeting here last Thursday. We are gonna hold the crack filling of the joints until next spring and pavement marking on the runways till next spring. So they are moving along pretty quickly on that project.
Good news. Russ, do you have, excuse me, Russ, do you have a question? Turn your
Trying to
mic.
give a thumbs up and it won't put down. There it goes. All right. Well done. Thank you.
Okay.
No question, Chairman.
All right. And item number 5 is approval for the request of proposal for the consultant selection for engineering services on East 14th Street, Maple Avenue to Vine. That is presented by Tom Turchi, Director of Public Works.
Okay, in September of this year, the Board of Public Works approved a request for proposals for engineering services for the reconstruction of East 14th Street from Maple Avenue to Vine Avenue. We had 3 consultants that we sent out plans or requests to. All 3 submitted plans. First part of the thing is that Josh and I took and reviewed the proposals that came in, looking at the various consulting firms. All of them are very qualified to do the project for us. Next, we took a look at the cost of proposals, and they are summarized as follows. Bremer was $57,478. Becker Hoppy was $80,545, and MSA was $115,726. Staff is recommending the selection of Bremer and Associates for this project. The budget for engineering services is approximately $54,000 that we had originally planned utilizing engineering division staff. Even with the slight increase, we should be able to complete this work within the proposed budget. So therefore, I am recommending approval of the proposal from Bremer and Associates, Incorporated of Stevens Point, Wisconsin, for the East 14th Street reconstruction project from Maple Avenue to Vine Avenue, and authorize an execution of an agreement. Are there any questions?
Russ, go ahead.
Yeah, a question that Mr. Werman might typically ask, but there's quite a difference in the bidding. And I'm wondering if you view that as an indication of how one of the contractors maybe is too busy, or was something overlooked in the low number?
Well, when they submit their costs, they also submit the number of hours they're planning to work on it, as well as any other contingencies. And MSA had the highest number of hours, but I did talk to all 3 firms after we did write the memo before it went on to the agenda. MSA felt that they were probably pretty loaded for projects, so they probably weren't really thinking of the price as much, because they'll have to probably do that with some overtime, as the other projects, contractors felt that they would probably fit it within those budgets.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Fire? Alderman Fire, do you have a question?
No, I had the same question that Russ did. He beat me to the gun.
Okay. Sounds good. Entertain a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Werman, second by Stelber. All in favor? Aye. Any nays?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 6, approval of the 2024 to 2026 asphalt paving list presented by Josh Moritz, City Engineer.
So every year we put together a 3-year asphalt program list, which encompasses our mill and place projects, overlays, and any streets where we may take the concrete pavement out and replace it with asphalt. Streets are prioritized with what work needs to be done and with what various crews can fit in their schedule and to fall within our CIP budget. So I will read through 2024's street list. 11th Street from Adams to Locust, and these first several are mill and place projects. Locust Avenue, 13th Street to 11th Street, 12th Street, Central Avenue to Chestnut Avenue, 15th Street from Peach to Palmetto, Palmetto Avenue from Blodgett to Daggy, an alley between Central and Chestnut and Daggy and Edison, both Emmanuel Court and Luther Court, Lincoln Avenue from 14th Street to Airport Road, and finally Ash Avenue, 2nd Street, 3rd Street. That's our mill and place list. 12th Street from Adams to Locust, we will be removing the pavement and resurfacing that with asphalt. Overlay of existing concrete streets on the list. The large one is Maple Avenue from 16th to Central Avenue, and also 6th Street from Maple to Cedar. Many of these have some various sanitary sewer work or water service work on them as well. Any questions on 24? I'll read through 24s real quickly. Mill and Place, it's a longer list. Depot Street, Apple to Elm, Schmidt Avenue, Ives to Columbus, State Street, Schmidt to Cul-de-sac, Lee Avenue, both directions to the cul-de-sac north and the cul-de-sac south, 3rd Street from Linden to Larch, Dremel Court, Pine Avenue, Depot to Arnold, 4 alleys, the first bounded by Central and Chestnut, Grant and Harrison, the second between Central and Maple, between Grant and Harrison, between Central and Chestnut and Blodgett and Cleveland, and between Central and Chestnut from Arnold to Blodgett. Also Heidi Lane, Marcy Court, and Spruce Avenue, Depot to Arnold. Asphalt resurfacing, Cedar Avenue from 6th to 4th, Maple Avenue from Daggy to Grant, and overlays for 2025 would be Central Avenue from 29th Street, probably to about Prachek Street or halfway to the roundabouts. That's 25. 26, Mill and Place, Callshed Street, Veterans to Sawyer, Fillmore Street, Juneau to Weber, Bluebird Court, an alley between Central and Chestnut from Blodgett to Cleveland, 15th Street, Palmetto to Falker, Mann Street from Hutter to Lincoln, Cypress Avenue, Arlington to 8th Street, Concord Avenue, 4th Street to cul-de-sac, asphalt resurfacing, 22nd Street, Galvin to Nicolai, Nicolai cul-de-sac to 24th Street, and 24th Street, Galvin to Nicolai. And the overlays for 2026 are the south half of Central Avenue from Prachek or so down to the roundabout. Any questions? Yes.
Okay, I've got a couple quick ones. One, don't know if it's accessible elsewhere and it just wasn't in the packet, but I've found from what has been provided this year so far, I find the maps extremely helpful that just have the highlights of what we're doing. If we could get that, I just think that would be good to kind of see the areas. Second question, you mentioned that they're all prioritized. How are they prioritized? Like, is it requests that come in that we're doing that? Is it scheduling timeline? Oh, yeah, I'll break, Tom, if you want to jump in. I see you got your hand up.
Okay. All of our streets in the city of Marshfield are rated with Whistler. We have to submit that every other year to the state of Wisconsin. So those streets that are at 4 or less, are on the list that we have to do some type of rehab to them. So we actually take a look at those, they drive the streets, and as streets progress through the program, getting closer to the year of construction, we actually take a look at those streets, and some do move forward and some do move backwards. And we're also trying to balance and make it fit within the allotted budget numbers that we have. So there's years that we may have to push a couple streets because of what the bids are and such. So this is a fluid document. In fact, the 24 list is different than the one I submitted probably last year. So Josh is taking a look at it a little bit different than I am, and I'm trusting his decisions, and we're going to move forward with this list if it's approved tonight.
Awesome. And one last question is, as we list these out, I assume we have historical data for anything that we would have done work on in the past. Is it possible to see that as we're doing new projects, like the last time that area might have been worked on? Because I'm just curious, like from our perspective too, like if we're seeing these areas are getting beat up more frequently or things like that, just as we're going through these projects to kind of get a better idea as a council or I guess a public works board.
Yeah, that's certainly something we could provide, that same rating system that Tom mentioned. There's several pieces of data collected with that. One is the last year it was surfaced, so we certainly have that. We may have records of the last time we did a chip seal, for instance, or something like that. So that's something we could provide. The map is a good idea. Certainly can provide that. In past years, after this list is approved and set in a little more stone, our GIS department will make a map and put it on our city's website that you can look into specific what's being done specifically to each project. So that should follow this meeting rather soon to be updated on the website. But yeah, that's a good point. In future years, we can include a map with this.
Most of these, the mill and place projects are typically 25 to 30 years old that we are starting on. I only see one project on here that I was involved with 28 years ago. So it's, we're starting to catch up to some of those street lives that are out there. So we do have the years that these streets were constructed to originally, and we're seeing 25 to 28 years with that. By doing the overlays on the concrete streets, what we're doing is we're seeing that we can make sure that we get the 50 years of life plus out of some of these streets. So.
Sure. Yeah. And just for context too, it was, talking with people about some of the work that we do, I think we do a great job. And like, as we've seen on St. Joe's, everything looks really nice. It comes out really smooth. I hear a lot of people say stuff like, oh, I feel like we always are working on the same roads. So it's like, it does feel like that, but I know there's different types of projects. So I just thought from that perspective, it'd be interesting to see what we did last, and maybe it was a different type of project and how that's different from what we're doing currently and what that lifespan will be. So thank you.
So, for example, on St. Joseph's Avenue, and I'll ask Josh to provide the data when it was constructed because he actually did the design for that. What we're seeing is the panels are still in wonderful shape on that project. What happens is joints are starting to fail, and this is to basically upgrade the ride surface and fix the joints. So, Josh, you can tell me what year it was constructed.
Yeah, that year was constructed in 1999 when that went from, I can maybe remember when it was a mix of 2-lane and 3-lane, 4-lane, and it went to the current configuration of 4-lane. So that was 1999. So I guess Tom said the pavement in general is kind of holding up, but the joints just really start to go. So got to do something about that.
Anything else? Mr. Stolberg.
Thanks, Josh. Where in the priority list does the intersection of North Peach and Becker come in as far as overlay? Got a failure of asphalt, and it didn't look like it was going to get done this year.
I think Tim Rasmussen wants to address that.
Yeah, so we're actually planning to pull that section out when American Asphalt is in to do Becker or Edison here yet this fall. We have it marked out currently, and we'll pull that asphalt out and repave it while they're just 2 blocks down the street.
Okay, super. And one other question regarding St. Joe's, maybe it's for Josh, but when the overlay is done, what inspection criteria is used to make sure that it's the quality that we would like? In other words, flatness, smoothness, because when I drove it, it just struck me as being a little washboardy, maybe it was at the joints.
Usually that's something typical, maybe more after a year or two, where the joints start to possibly reflect through. It's not something that should be seen necessarily right away. I know we've had instances in the past with different paving practices. We like to watch them, I guess. It's hard to catch everything at the time of rolling or things like that. I know manholes are usually a concern, and that's something we try to address prior to paving, but we're kind of at the mercy of the paving crew, to be honest.
You broke up there a little bit. At the mercy of what?
At the mercy of the paving crew, to be quite honest, near the end. It's kind of an art form, knowing when to roll and how much to roll it, so.
It just seemed, like in our business, we'd call that telegraphing, where the subsurface is coming up through or creating a texture on the upper level. So I could have been hypercritical or something, but it just seemed for new overlay, it didn't seem to be as smooth as I had expected.
It's something we can watch during the second half of the paving operation and see if we notice anything.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? With that said, we'll entertain a motion to approve. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
We didn't actually have a motion on that, but
Oh.
so.
I guess we could.
I'll also move.
Mike Fire, one, and.
Orman,
I'll second if you need one.
Berman, okay, all right.
we can try that again. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you.
As opposed, say name. Approved. Item number 7, approval of engineering services task order with Strand Associates for design of the bidding services for the rehabilitation of the Northeast Pumping Lift Station. Presented by Tom Turchi, Director of Public Works, and Mark Villa, Wastewater Superintendent.
I'm going to turn it over to Mark and let him present this.
Good evening. In August of 2021, Strand Associates was selected through the bidding process to complete a facility plan for the wastewater treatment facility. This facility plan was to provide an overall condition assessment of the wastewater facility and provide cost-effective alternatives for meeting future discharge limits. The facility plan also included assessment of the Northeast Lift Station. The Northeast Lift Station was built in 1976 and serves 1/3 of the city. It has seen 2 upgrades since going online. In 2000, a 4th pump was added and a backup generator was replaced. In 2015, 2 of the 4 original pumps were replaced with modern non-clogging dry pit submersibles. The facility plan was completed in March of 2023. It recommends replacing the 2 remaining original pumps at Northeast Lift, along with some wet well updates and analyzing condition of the 2-mile-long force main. Strand Associates with the task order will prepare design plans, create technical specifications, conduct electronic bidding, analyze bids, and assist the city with the preparation of contract documents for signature. Strand Associates has completed all of their work on time and with a satisfactory level of performance. They are currently providing the design and bidding services for the phosphorus removal facilities at the wastewater plant. This Northeast Lift Station project is separated from the wastewater plant project in order to maximize on potential principal forgiveness through the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Clean Water Fund program. I recommend approval of Task Order 2303 at a cost of $148,000 with Strand Associates of Madison, Wisconsin for design bidding services for the replacement of 2 pumps, wet well upgrades, and force main assessment for the Northeast Pumping Station.
Are there any questions?
I'll move to approve.
Looking for a second?
Second.
Stelber with approval.
I do have a
Second.
question, Mike.
Go ahead, Russ.
I appreciate the background, knowing it's The Northeast Station services about 1/3 of the residents of Marshfield. Do we expect any interruptions in service during the work?
No, no, there should be capacity, especially if we decide to switch it over like in wintertime or low flows. We wouldn't want to proceed with that activity during high flows or snow melt situations.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, say nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item number 8, recommended items for future agendas. I see none. We'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.